This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Today we'll start our first class in velocity. We'll try to understand the basics of velocity. And as we go ahead, we keep learning more and more components of velocity. All right. So as we all know that velocity is nothing but a managed package. When we technically speak, it is nothing but a managed package which you can find under in setup install packages. You can see that there is something called velocity managed package here. So depending on the industry which you have installed, it varies. It could be velocity underscore CMT for telecom and communications and media entertainment, velocity underscore INS for insurance package. Depending on the various industries, the package name differs, but it starts with velocity. All right. So when you speak technically, what Velocity is doing here is using the Salesforce existing standard data model, like you have order object, order line item object. So around these objects, Velocity extends or created more objects and relationships and created industry specific data model. Let's say for communications, everything revolves around order line item. For insurance, quote and quote line item. Around these two objects, would have created so many other objects which together work as a data model for insurance domain. So similarly, Velocity provides various data models, different data models for all the 6 different industries. Right? Also, Velocity provides certain common features across all the industries. Right? One of few of those tools would be data tools and interaction tools. Right? Interaction tools are nothing but the UI components that we can use. Right? So out of those interaction tools, the first component would be your omniscript. So omniscript, the name itself suggests that omni in the sense guided flow. So you create a script which provides a guided flow which fits in our business requirement. Let's see and create omniscript and understand what are all the various elements that are involved in omniscript. Right. So in order to create an omniscript, we can go to App Launcher and search for Velocity Omniscript Designer tab. In the current package, in the latest version of Velocity, you would find instead of OmniScript Designer, you may find Omni Studio OmniScript Designer. So after Salesforce has acquired, it is making a lot of changes. So now all these interface and data tools will be called as Omni Studio Development. So you may see the names would be a little different. Right. Search for OmniScript tab and open the Designer tab, and we will launch into this particular tab. Right, and click on New. In the name, you can give any name which makes sense, but here type and subtype are going to be more important. So always make sure that when you create a omniscript, uh, you make sure that type and subtype makes some sense, right? And type and subtype must be unique. So yep. Right, something like this. And once you click on Save button, you will be launched into OmniScript Designer page, right? If you actually see here, Velocity, what it is doing here is it is providing us a visual force page, right? If we switch to Classic, then we'll be able to see that in the URL clearly. Just give me a second. Right. You can see in the URL, this is nothing but a VF page that is being provided by Vlocity. So this is what Vlocity does. Vlocity uses the existing Salesforce components like VF page, Apex controllers, and all of those stuff, and it gives a much better UI for us, so that everything becomes a drag and drop component for us. So all you do is configuration, but in turn, in the Velocity servers, a code get executed on behalf of you. All you have to do is drag and drop the right component, right elements or right components, and give the required parameters or properties, and using those properties and parameters in the backend, Velocity runs the code on behalf of you, right? So this is the Omniscript Designer tab. So once you click on new one, once you create a new Omniscript, this is where you will be launched. So in this particular screen on the left hand side, what you see is all the available components. So these are all the components that you can drag and drop, right? So there are so many components that are provided by Velocity. Using all of these, we'll be able to create guided business flows, right? All right. So in the center part is what you see will be the structure. So this is what you actually you're building your actual Omniscript, right? So here from the left hand side, from the available components, you drag and drop certain elements whichever is required. Let's say if I want to show a checkbox in the UI, I'll drag and drop a checkbox into the structure, and I'll define the properties like what should be the name and what are all the various properties, right? And on the right hand side is what you see properties. So in the properties, each element you configure the properties. For example, you dragged and dropped a checkbox. So in the element name, you give some API name kind of thing. And in the field label, in the element name, you basically some unique name, which acts more like an API name of Salesforce. It's not exactly API name, but yep, it acts like that. It must be unique in your Omniscript, in your entire Omniscript. And field label is what you see on the UI, so you can rename it to anything. And you have various properties like you can make it read only field, or if you can add any help text if it is required, and various properties. So and then you click on preview. On in the preview screen, you will be able to see that particular checkbox, right? Right, something like this. So it looks all simple as of now. They're using all of these components, you can build much more complex UI screens, right? And